I'm sure we've all heard the quote or the phrase or something akin to the idea of he or she or anyone doesn't suffer fools gladly. I mean, who does? Which in turn leads me to the saying, better to be silent and be thought a fool than to open your mouth and dispel all doubt. Stick around to find out what the hell I'm talking about, what that has to do with anything, cigars especially. You're tuned in to Smokin' Revelry. Hello, my fellow revelers. Welcome. Once again, you are tuned into Smoke and Revelry, which is sponsored by Pariah Cigars and Casa Cuevas Cigars, from our Casa to yours. Thank you guys for tuning in from wherever you're watching, whether you're watching on YouTube or on Cigar TV. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you. Now, at the beginning of the video, I was rambling on and on about not suffering fools gladly and how it's better to be silent and be thought a fool than to open your mouth and dispel all doubt. What the hell does that have to do with anything, specifically cigars? The problem with fools is that they're everywhere and they take many forms. Sometimes you're not entirely sure you're dealing with a fool and then they start talking, or they just start behaving oddly, or they're just going on and on about this, that, or the other. The same is true for when you're hanging out in a group of people smoking cigars, especially cigar lounges, or maybe you're hanging out with a friend at their house or wherever it is that you are, and you're just kicking back and smoking cigars. There is bound to be, at some point or another, somebody who acts a fool and kind of ruins the whole vibe of what's going on. Now, the fools that I'm talking about in particular are the ones who are a little bit on the snobby side. Cigar snobs. I'm talking about cigar snobs. Now, I've done videos in the past and I've kind of touched on this subject, the idea of being a cigar snob. I've talked about in videos about how some people only smoke one brand. Why? Something I will never understand. There's so many cigars out there and you're only going to stick with one brand. Okay, buddy, you do you. Now, if that's your preference, go for it. You only want to smoke that one brand. Okay, fine. I'm not going to give you a hard time about it. But where I get annoyed is when you've got somebody who walks into the lounge or the gathering that you're at. Maybe they've been smoking cigars for 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 decades, and they like to come in and flex either their knowledge or the cigar brands they smoke because they've got some weird ass inflated sense of self-importance, whether it's the brands they smoke or that maybe they know more about cigars than you do, or the person sitting next to you. Usually when people come to a gathering and cigars are being smoked, nobody gives a shit. It goes without saying, I love having conversations when I'm smoking, whether it's with my dad or certain friends of mine, or I'm, having a buddy come over or hang out with me who doesn't ordinarily smoke cigars, and I want to share some of what I've got with that person, and we just sit around and talk and laugh and have a good time. There's always, and not every single time you go to a lounge or a hangout, but there's always that one person, and you may have met this person. You may know exactly who this person is in your brain. You have a name and a face when you're thinking about this type of person, and it's the type of person who just has this, again, this inflated sense of self-importance, and they kind of let it revolve around the brands they smoke and how those brands are better than any other brands, or maybe it's the money they make and that they can afford certain brands, that they can, I can buy Cuban cigars anytime I want. Good for you. Most of you know my thoughts about Cuban cigars. We're not going to get into that. But you got some people who act like, Cuban cigars, they're the best cigars on the planet. And why would you ever want to smoke anything other than Cuban cigars? Now, thankfully, personally, I don't know too many of these types. I don't know too many super snobby cigar smokers. I tend to hang out with some pretty cool people. I tend to, rub elbows with some people who just, they are open to trying just about any cigar out there, finding out what they like, developing their palate, etc., etc. But there have been times I've mentioned a brand that I like, and maybe it's a fairly popular brand, maybe it's a lesser known brand, a boutique brand. As you know, boutique brands are my thing. But I've encountered people once or twice who will come up to me and they're like, oh my God, you smoked that? Why do you smoke that? Those are terrible. They probably don't sound like that when they're talking, but that's how they sound in my head. Now, obviously, I've had a number of friends who influence me in what cigars I try, maybe sometimes even what cigars I'll avoid. In fact, there was a period of time where there were certain people, especially early in my cigar journey, I guess you could say, when I was starting to try more and more cigars, when I said, oh, I want to try this brand that's a little bit more popular, a little more well-known, and they say, oh, you don't want to smoke that. You don't smoke that because of blah, 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 this and blah, 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 that. Why? And I'm just like, okay. And I listen to them, but at the same time later on, I'm like, why am I letting them tell me what I should and shouldn't smoke? Because I want to try it. I may not get to try it now. I may not get to try it for a while, but eventually I want to try this cigar. Just add that to the list. I'm constantly adding cigars to my list. To be clear, it's a non-existent list, meaning it's not an actual, tangible, physical list. It's a list that piles up in my head. I probably should write it down. I'm technically a writer. I am a lax writer, and I don't even make lists. Why? I really need to make lists because I just forget about the shit that I'm supposed to do in a given day or whatever it is I'm supposed to be working on. It's abundantly clear that I did not write this episode of the show. I'm flying by the seat of my pants. Why? No, I don't, and I'm being truthful here. I don't have an arrogant bone in my body. There are times when I'm a little bit cocky, depending on what we're talking about. I can be confident, but I'm not at all. And it was how I was raised. It's all this, the influences around me were all, for the most part, good ones. And I try to stay humble. I try to stay, kind and have some humility. And when it comes to the cigar brands I enjoy, obviously, I'm going to tell people about them. Now, there may be a cigar brand that somebody else smokes that I've tried. I don't like it, but they like it. So I'm not going to say anything to them. I'm just saying, if they ask me, did you like it? No, I didn't really like it. But do you like it? Yeah, I like it. Okay, cool. Smoke on, buddy. I don't care. All that I ask is that you do not come up to me. And when you find out what I smoke, you kind of have this, oh, darling. I don't know. Maybe they'll call me darling. I don't know. But, oh, my good sir. Oh, you smoke that? That's adorable. Again, this is probably how they sound in my head as opposed to how they actually sound. But suffice it to say, there have been times where people say, really? You like those? Yeah, I do. I do like those, whatever those are, those cigars that I smoke. In addition to that, I honestly don't care how much you know. What do I mean by that? By that, I mean that if you have got this crazy library encyclopedia in your head of cigar knowledge, that's great. But all that I ask, and I think most people feel this way, don't try to unpack that unless somebody actually asks you a question. Because one thing I can't stand is when I'm hanging out with people, there's this one person among all of us there that just wants to go on and on about what they know. Maybe it's about cigars. Maybe it's about something completely outside of cigars or anything to do with cigars. But you're all sitting around smoking, having a drink or two, and there's that one person who's just like, hey, did you know about this and that regarding this cigar, about what you're drinking? Hey, did you know this and that about that? And you know what? It can be cool. It can be a cool discussion point. But don't try to unpack that unless somebody asks you a question. It's like, hey, what do you know about this? What do you know about that? And so on and so forth. I did a short a while back, a YouTube short. I also did it on my TikTok, where I kind of basically said, as part of what not to do in a cigar lounge, unless directly asked, no one cares about how much you know about cigars or anything for that matter. They just want to know you. They want to talk to you. They want to have a conversation with you, and they probably would prefer if you didn't dominate that conversation with all of your incredible knowledge about cigars and how they're made. And did you know about this leaf from tastes like and if you why? I know it kind of sounds like I'm being a dick, but the thing is, I want to have organic, casual conversation. I want to get to know, if it's a new person, it's somebody I've never met before, I want to get to know them and I want to know more about them. I don't care necessarily about what they know. I want to know about them. I want to know a little bit about their life. I want to know about how they got into cigars, what kind of cigars they enjoy. And if it's relevant to the questions I'm asking or the conversation, then yeah, for sure, let's talk about it. But please just, again, keep it chill, keep it casual. Definitely don't bring up politics. Please don't bring up religion. You're not going to impress me if you start dumping out all this cigar knowledge and things like that, or what you know about this or what you know about that. I just want to have a cool one-on-one conversation, chill, relaxed, without any pretense whatsoever. And that's just the main thing, pretense. And this air of trying to project something that you're not, just so that way people will be more interested in you and like you. Snobbery, arrogance, just this, I've used this phrase a couple times already, an inflated sense of self-importance. It's a massive turnoff. One of the things that I'm amazed by and will be continued to be amazed by, and it was pointed out to me by a couple of people that I really respect in the cigar community. So you can go to a cigar lounge or hang out with people and we're all sitting around smoking cigars, just shooting the shit. And it's amazing how pretty much social status, whether you're upper, middle, or lower class in terms of income, whatever your background is, you can make a ton of money, you can not make that much money. When everybody sits down and smokes a cigar, we are all on equal ground because we're there to enjoy a cigar, relax, forget about our troubles for a little while, disconnect from the norm, and just be able to sit, be quiet, reflect, or sit, have a conversation and reflect. Meet new people, get a little bit of a distraction from, whatever's going on in your life, good or bad, because sometimes you need that and you would like to do it in a pleasant and comfortable and inviting environment. And if there are people who are there kind of just acting like they're better than everyone, whether it's because of the brands they smoke or how much money they make or anything like that, yeah, I'm probably gonna bounce a little bit faster than I intended to. I truly believe that there is no room for that in the cigar community. I mean, you're going to encounter people like that who think they're the shit, who like to try and just project this air of importance and like they know more and they're better or whatever. I avoid people like that, like the plague, because I want to hang out with people that kind of have a glow about them, they have an inviting, warm personality. Someone who I know, it's going to be cool having a conversation with them because we're going to get to know each other. We're going to have fun. We're going to have a good time. And I might make a new friend. I might become somebody else's new friend. And that sounds fantastic to me. You don't have to impress me. You just need to make a good impression. Let's hang out. Let's have a good time. Let's smoke some good cigars. Let's tell some stories. Let's just have fun. That's what this is all about. I really don't care about any of the trivial bullshit, and I care more about the person than what they know, because I'm going to find out eventually what you've learned and stuff like that, but just sit down and talk to me, person to person. Let's get to know one another, see what we have in common, see what we don't have in common. No bad mouthing, no shit talking, whether it's about cigar brands or people in the community. Why? If you're going to do that, I'm going to walk the other way. I'm going to go talk to that other person over there. So, yeah, let's keep it cool. Let's keep it humble. Let's keep it chill. Etiquette is a thing, folks. Cigar etiquette is definitely a thing, and that includes how the conversation flows. Let's keep it light. Let's keep it fun. And that's all I have to say about that. Thank you guys once again for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I know I was kind of rambling on and on, but it was something I was thinking about a little bit earlier today, and I thought I would just talk a little bit about it because, I love being among the people in the cigar community. I love hitting up a lounge, especially one that I've never been to before. I love going to my usual haunts, as it were, and seeing some of the same faces and meeting new people as well. And, there have been times that I've had some awkward conversations. People try to insert politics and whatever else there is. They always have something to say about something. And it gets uncomfortable, it gets awkward, and I just kind of want to be left to myself and not want to talk to anyone. Kills the vibe, kills the fun. Don't do that. That's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you at the very least found it entertaining. Maybe you got something from it. If you did, please be sure to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and also drop a comment down below. I love engaging with you guys, and if you have something you want to add or something you want to throw in, maybe an experience or something like that, let me know in the comments and let's start a dialogue. Thank you again for tuning in from wherever you're watching. I hope you guys are staying healthy, safe, keeping it smoky as always. Guys, take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time. Why?